Okay, hello, welcome everybody. We'll get started we'll just give it a minute to let anybody join, and then we'll get started. Okay, so hello and welcome to this CAS Inspire. So this is our first secondary session of 2022 in CAS Inspire. It's a fantastic cross-curricular way to teach about climate change in your secondary classroom. So my name's Simon Ham. I'm the host for the session. I'm also joined by my colleague Tim, who you can see up there in the left. Tim's away, that's great. Who'll be moderating today, so looking after any of your questions or anything like that. So feel free to post any questions in the question tab on the right hand side. All attendees are in listen only mode, so that's the only way you can interact with us. If you're using social, please use the hashtag #CASInspire. So without further ado, we're going to introduce our panel. So this afternoon, I'm delighted that we are joined by Natalie Stewart and Richard Smith. So Natalie completed a degree in computer science in 2001 at the University of Liverpool, became a software engineer. A few years later, she completed a PGCE and teaches secondary IT and computer science for over 18 years. Richard started his own business, Amazing ICT. 11 years ago, he now works with 3 other people, helping staff and students with computing, e-safety and robotics. He works with 4 schools each week and helps to run the Telford CAS Mixed Community. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Richard, who I think is speaking first. His camera's not on because we've got a few technical issues, so enjoy the session and remember to post any questions in the question window. Over to you, Richard.
Hello everyone, it's lovely to meet you. Sorry you can't actually see me. I have got my computing at school shirt on, so I'm a great supporter of CAS. So if you could show the slides, Natalie, that would be brilliant.
Yep, they're up.
I can't see the slides, Natalie, so I don't know if Simon could just do that. Well, while you're trying to solve that bit of techie issue, I'm just going to talk about what's going to be happening in the next 13 minutes. I'm going to go through some different things to do with climate change, and we've chosen to do 3 different things with you. So we're going to be talking about different things that you could put on in your school, some free and easy software to use, and also 2 pieces of equipment that are very easy to buy and very affordable as well. So what I'm going to do is, Natalie, if you could just tell me what the first slide shows, and then I'll talk through that. It should be talking about solar power.
Yeah, so it's your focus on solar energy.
Yeah, so basically, it's such a big thing to talk about, renewable energy and climate change. In my little section, we're just talking about solar energy. And it's important with the children to point out that they should only use pictures that are from Creative Commons, so that they're not breaking any copyright. So there's a really nice picture that I searched for, and just check that it was free to use. The next slide should sort of talk about the different types of energy that you can have, and the one I wanted to focus on was biomass, in that lots of children might not understand what that is. So I put a hyperlink at the bottom below those government figures. So I think that's really important. So biomass would be where you've got people growing things that can then be converted into some sort of energy. So in this case, the most common is ethanol. So you would grow a certain grain, and then you convert that into a thing to provide power. The government figures there should show you 2 quarters So that's really important. So what we're trying to do is to link up with maths to talk about the fact that data should be shown, that can be sort of judged and tested in terms of its accuracy. And the government figures are down below. So basically, I've got my slides on the screen now, so I can follow those a little bit more easily. So there's two links at the bottom for you. The way I always do it on the next slide is to try and link up with something local. So we're based in Telford. So there's some solar farms that are growing up around Telford. And this particular one is actually run by Telford and Wrekin Local Authority. So it's really important to try and make the information accurate to the area. It's also important to talk about pluses and minuses of anything, really. So I noticed today that there's another solar plant going to hopefully come in Telford, but there's lots of people that are objecting to the particular site. So I think that's important, and that can link in with PSHE. So if we look at slide 7, this is really important in that we're talking about information, and the fact that information is made up of different parts of data. So that's within the GCSE curriculum, so that's important. I've just put 3 bullet points down there for you. So what data makes the information useful? How could it be worked out, so calculated, and how could you store and analyze the information? So that could be via a spreadsheet or database. And there's a really nice unit of work down below, an NCCE unit, and that's all been written for you that you can download, and then you can just choose bits of that content that you want. The next section is to do with creativity. So it's always nice to be able to let the children create stuff. So this is a free bit of software called Tinkercad, and I've made this very, very easy by just having an array of 3 by 3. And basically, it's quite nice to do because it's based on squares. So that's quite easy for the children to do. So what they would do is to draw some squares, and then they would actually just replicate those. So you've got 9 squares, and then you create a baseboard. And what you can do, a nice little bit of a little shortcut, is you could create 3 to form the top row, and then you could group them and then copy and paste those to get the next 3 and then the next 3. If we click onto the next slide, on Tinkercad, you can also access other people's drawings, and not only use them, you can actually adapt them. So when I found this one, I noticed that there were several bits. So you've got the base there, you've got the stand, and then you've got the array of 3 by 4. So what you could do is you could either change that to add an extra, say, column or row, and then you could replicate it. It's important to point out to the children here that you've got to group the items before copying and pasting, and then you can resize. So they could actually create their own solar farm. The next slide, I really love this because this is a video that's been created by a teenager to show how she made her own solar panel display on Tinkercad. And she was clever enough to produce different layers. So that links with the science of semiconductors. And there's a video there. You can actually search for her, Dilshad Begum, and you can find that. And these slides will be available to you after the event. The next slide just talks about that. What if you search for something on a search engine, please don't say Google it. In this case, I've used Google, but please use the term search because that's obviously generic, and you could use other search engines. So does Tinkercad have solar panels? So I knew that I wanted to use Tinkercad because it was free and it was easy to use. And then when I searched for that, this is what came up. And if you look at the one on the right, the little house, when you click on that, you will actually get that house and you can download it and you can tinker with it. So you could make the house a bit more elaborate by adding some windows, or you could change the number of solar panels on the roof. And then the third one along, you can see somebody's created a sort of solar farm there. So moving on to the next section, these are the two things that I bought to work in secondary schools with solar power. I really was pleased that this was very affordable, £11.22 plus £3 delivery. But what it's got is, you can see in the image, you've got 3 arrays, different arrays of solar panels there, and each one of those is 1.5 volts. The way it's been created is really nice. So on the back, there's some little things that you can unscrew, so you could see whether the bulb or the fan works with just one group of solar panels, so 1.5 volts. If it doesn't, you can do a bit of thinking and think, oh, well, perhaps we could use 3 or 4.5. The next one is a company called Monk Makes, and I've been using their equipment for ages because it's really, really well made. So in this case, what you've got is you've got a solar panel. Now this actually provides 10 volts, even though it's smaller. And the middle part of the image shows a solar store. So what you're doing here is you're being very, very realistic to real life, in that you're saying you could collect the solar energy, store it, and then you can power other things. It comes with a number of different things, but you can also, in the picture I've put in the background, you can power a microbit. And some of the projects, there are 6 projects in the book, and some of them include MicroPython. So that's really lovely because you can link your coding aspect to actually producing some code that will make something work. And I think that's really important for the children, to keep them motivated, to show that you're actually making something that's going to be useful. And the fact that you've got that solar store there might encourage them to try and work in a career, try and get a career or an apprenticeship, or go on to do some further study in solar energy and climate and recycling. So moving to the next section, I've put down 6 ideas for you for events. And I think an event would be really, really good for your school. So a climate change showcase. Now, I haven't been able to find any showcases for secondary at the moment. So what I've done is to put a link there for Barefoot, which is for the primary ones. Now, Barefoot does work with secondary, so we're hoping that they'll come up with more secondary ideas to do with climate change. But it'll give you a starting point in terms of designing logos and some different coding to do with climate change. An energy event for families. So it could be that you come up with an event and try and come up with a few ideas where you get families to look at some of the things that have been created using the kits that I talked about, or the Tinkercad work that I talked about. At the present time, you might not want to have families coming into school, so you might want to try and get the children to create some videos of their work and then post them on the school website or on social media, making sure that the children are very careful and not to show their faces or show where they actually live. An online discussion with your local authority. So getting the school to try and link with the local authority to talk about the whole aspect of climate change. So where we live, there's lots of discussion about solar panels, but also about road building. So getting the children to think about, do they agree with bypasses, or do they think more money should be put into perhaps railways? So trying to get them to link with the local authority and to maybe have people to visit, such as a councillor visit the school. This is always popular. Invite local radio to discuss climate change. So I've been very successful, as has Natalie, getting Radio Shropshire to feature some of our things that we do. So that would be worth doing. And to produce a podcast, number 6, that can be shared. The best of podcasts is you haven't got to worry about children's faces, and sometimes teenagers are more willing to record a podcast than a video because they don't want their image to be shown, because they might be a little bit worried. So podcasts are really good. You can use Audacity, you can post them online on your school website. One piece of warning is, if you use popular podcasting sites, you do need to just check the terms and conditions in terms of sharing, and also other content that might be on those podcasts. So that's my bit. So thank you very much for listening to my bit. And as I say, all those links, all those slides will be online, so you can actually investigate them and just use some of those ideas. So over to Natalie.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to talk to you about a microbit project that we've been involved with here at Hadley Learning Community in Telford, and it's called Do Your Bit. It's all about bringing together the microbit and UN global goals, making sure that there's lots of inspiring activities within your classroom, and there's an exciting challenge later on that I'll talk about as well for the students to enter. You can have lots of fun with the microbit and develop world-changing ideas and solutions using technology. And it also adds a social purpose to your digital learning as well. There's 17 global goals, and I've put those up on the slide there. And when you get the slides, if you click on that, it will take you off to those 17 goals. So there are a set of 9 lessons that have been developed to run prototyping activities. So you're not actually creating the final product. It is about prototyping and understanding the process to do that. And it's all linked to the global goals. They're designed for children aged 7 to 14, and they contain all of the downloadable resources that you will need to run the lessons. Some of the lessons do require some craft resources like paper, scissors and glue, but they're not actually necessary. It's just an extra activity that you can do in the design process of the prototyping. And all of the lessons are linked and mapped to the different national curriculums for the whole of the UK. You can see on the side there that there are 9 different activities there, from being active to healthy oceans and energy awareness. So one of the projects is about stopping bycatching. So if you don't know what that is the unwanted fish and marine creatures being trapped by commercial fishing nets when they're fishing for different species. So this project allows students to have a look at light up fishing nets, and it looks at sustainable fishing, which is one of the main themes of the global goals. So basically what the students do is they look at what bycatching is, what solutions already exist to reduce bycatching and light up fishing nets. Then they review the product. Just to make everybody aware, this is just a prototype, so please don't put your microbits in water. A dimmable light could be used to test it out rather than trying to dip it into water, because the project works along looking at the depth in water and the light that penetrates the water. There are so many resources. There's 2 videos, one which is an introduction to all about sustainable fishing and how to start looking at your fishing net. And then there is a coding guide. So there's somebody actually doing the code as the video is loading, as the video is running. You can do it in Python or you can do it in block-based code. So lots of differentiation there for the different ages and abilities. The Do Your Bit is actually a challenge, so a competition that is run across the whole world. It's a challenge for anybody from 8 to 18, and you can test your imagination and combine creativity and technology to come up with solutions for global goals tackling the issues we're facing today. You're asked to design a solution to a problem that affects your community or a community somewhere else in the world. There's a set of entry checklists for you to go through, such as which category are you entering in. There are 3 categories. One is just having an idea. So you would use the lessons that I've just previously talked about to spark ideas in the students to come up with an idea that can help solve one of these global goals or solution towards tackling the issues. Category 2 is for 8 to 14-year-olds to design and code a solution or a prototype. And then category 3 is design and code a prototype for 15 to 18-year-olds. So it is a little bit more intense coding that you need to do, and you would need to do the Python for the 15 to 18-year-olds. You need to choose one of the 17 categories. It can be any of the 17. You need to decide what your project is called and explain what your project is and how it works with a written statement. It's not a lot of writing, it is just something short just to explain what you are doing. And if you're in category 2 or 3, you have to include your code. So you can download the hex file or upload the hex file and include some photos and videos of you with your project. The Do Your Bit challenge is open from now. It opened last week and it runs until the 15th of July. So anytime between now and then you can work on the project with students in the classroom, in a club, to help solve some of the global goals that we're trying to look at about solving climate change and looking after our planet. And you can use your microbits to help you along with those. And if you go to the microbit website and to Do Your Bit, there's so many resources on there that you can work through and help you to make sure that the students are understanding what the project is and how they can be creative with technology to solve these global goals. So that is my section done.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, really good. I really like some of the physical. I'm really keen on physical computing myself. So some of the stuff you was talking about there, especially at the start, Richard, I've made a few notes myself to maybe get a little test kit, and I really like the those microbit challenges. Again, physical computing, I think it works really well in the classroom. So yeah, thanks for sharing them great ideas. So thank you again to our presenters, Natalie and Richard. Thanks to the audience today. I can see there's no questions. Please can I encourage anyone to share personal highlights from today's session by social media and on the CAS website using the hashtag CAS Inspire. At the end of this webinar, a short survey will appear on your screen. We'll be grateful if you could take a minute to complete the survey. Please contribute and spread the word of CAS Inspire. We're hosting further CAS Inspire sessions throughout 2022, so please join us next Wednesday at 4 p.m. for the CAS Secondary Inspire session, which is all about A-level and how we can use Python to know more about climate change. Thanks for joining us. Hope we can see you next time. So goodbye from me, and I can see there goodbye from Tim in the corner. So thanks. Have a great evening.
Bye.